and the insurgency it's not quelled the insurgency, needless to say. Is there any conversation within Pakistan, within the local people, about a political solution, or is military suppression the only way to go forward?
Since this thing of it blaming others for our issues, that won't help at the end of the day. The politicians and even the army, they got to sit together and find out a political solution of Balochistan. And otherwise, the other security solution, that we don't see resolving it any sooner. I think is the only solution that is the political solution of Balochistan. And of course, they have to deal the terror group the way they are dealing it. But the other voices which want to separate themselves from the terror, I think if they they speak to them, they open dialogue with them, so things may improve.
All right, dialogue, diplomacy, that's the way forward. But like Mr. Tahir was talking about, these terrorists are going to have to be dealt with just the way Pakistan has been dealing with that. Would you agree, Ms. Moreno, if I could bring you in on the discussion here? You've extensively researched the Baloch struggle, the Baloch insurgency that has persisted for decades now. Now, what makes this particular attack different from the other separatist movements? I mean, BLA has carried out these attacks in the past as well, but this train hijacking, what we've seen in the last 48 hours, doesn't this seem a little unprecedented when we're talking about past attacks by the BLA?
Yes, of course. I just want to say something about terrorists. Who's the terrorist here? BLA hijacked the train and released women and children and civilians almost immediately. Pakistani army is disappearing, killing people, raping and using women as sexual slaves, killing children since several years. Who's the terrorist here? Labeling the BLA as terrorist, yes, it's easy because this attack is unprecedented and shows clearly something. Is an army, is a freedom fighters army, and it's actually much better coordinated than the #1 army in the world who never won a war and who's not capable to win a war against its own people. They just fight unharmed civilians. There's also a peaceful movement of Baloch. But don't charge them. They try to kill Marang Baloch, who's, by the way, has been nominated for the Nobel Prize. And the only way, yes, it gets worse and worse because Pakistan does not want a political solution for Balochistan. The only approach they have been using is suppression and repression and killing, ethnic cleansing, to use a very old-fashioned term. BLA is reacting. This is unprecedented. It's unprecedented also because in the same hours there have been attacks against Pakistani military posts all over Balochistan. It's a very well strategically coordinated operation, and by the way, much better than regular army, which is just spreading lies.
All right. Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, pertinent point that Ms. Moreno has raised over here. How does India view this growing instability in Pakistan? Pakistan, of course, dealing with the TTP and the BLA at this point in time. How does India view this instability in its neighborhood country?
Well, first of all, let me say that I agree entirely what was said by Ms. Francisca Moreno. She was absolutely right in pinpointing the causes. Now, let me tell you that I myself had served as the Indian consul in Karachi in the 1980s. And I traveled to Balochistan quite a few times. I also met the Baluchi population which was resident in Karachi, and there were quite a few. And what was very evident was that the Baluchis nursed grievances, that they were being exploited by the Punjabi-dominated ruling elite, which includes the army, the political class, and their business interests. And over time, their resentment has only grown and has taken more militant forms. Now, let me mention that Balochistan, as you pointed out in your introductory remarks, is sparsely populated. And although it occupies 44% of the land area, its population is just 7% of Pakistan's population. But the important thing is that Balochistan is very rich in mineral resources. These resources include coal, sulfur, chromite, iron ore, marble, limestone, oil and natural gas, and many others. So the Baloch feel that their natural resources are not being used for their benefit, but in fact, these natural resources are being exploited for the benefit of a Punjabi dominated ruling class. Now, how does India view this? You know, I think that all right thinking people in the world, as Ms. Francisca Marino has pointed out, all right thinking people want that the oppression of the Baluch should end. Because until this exploitation comes to an end, their grievances will not end, and their militancy will take more and more acute forms,
All right.
as indeed it is doing. Now, let me turn to the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, which you referred to. You know, the Pashtuns have never accepted the Durand Line. They feel that the Durand Line is a colonial legacy and that they have the right to live together in one nation with their Pashtun brothers in Afghanistan. So that is the basic cause of the resentment in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province of Pakistan.
All right, Ambassador.
Now,
I'm going to.